This is Respected and Connected, the podcast that helps you tackle tough relationship challenges and create a more collaborative, intimate marriage. My name is Sharon Costanzo, and I'm your no-nonsense relationship coach. I've helped people just like you create stronger, more fulfilling relationships using the Better Marriage Blueprint. My mission is simple: to help you explore the complexity of intimate relationships, challenge your assumptions about what it takes to make it work, and advocate for the kind of relationship you really want. You don't have to settle for a lonely and unsatisfying marriage, and I'm here to give you some tools and ideas about how to make your marriage really great. So I have just a little bit of sad news to share with you all today. I sent my podcast manager, my podcast editor and manager, Connor, an email. And it was kind of a spur of the moment thing, but also something that I've been thinking about for at least the last several months. The email that I sent Connor was, hey, I really need to put my podcast on pause for a little bit. Maybe 3 months, maybe longer. How many episodes do I have left? What have I already paid you to do for me? I'll get that over to you, and then we're going to take a break. And Connor was like, of course, no problem. That's not a problem. You should really consider putting together an episode on that topic to kind of let everyone know what's going on and maybe provide some insight along with that. So that's what I want to do for you guys today. And just to give you a little bit of a backstory, I don't know how many of you know much about my business as a whole, or you just listen to the podcast for the insights that I share, but I am 100% a solopreneur, and I also have another job on top of that. So I'm still working on building a coaching business. I've done this podcast now for almost 4 years, and it's been a great privilege. It's been a great blessing. Not only being able to share this with other people, but for what I have learned in the process about the business of podcasting, from all of the amazing guests that I have had on the podcast. They have had a great impact on my work and my perspective on relationships and what makes relationships work. It's just been an amazing blessing in my life. But I am a solopreneur. I am a busy working mom, and I tend to be an overfunctioner, a high achiever, overachiever, so to speak. And I've been going through some health challenges this past year, so I've been spending a lot of time working on sorting out some health challenges. My husband, who also works, not surprisingly, his job has become busier. I really value spending time with my kids and being there for them when I can be, and things have just kind of gotten to the point where something needs to shift. And it's been very obvious to me for the past several months that the podcast needs to be the thing that shifts. And I've really avoided making that call because it is something that I love, that is personally fulfilling to me, on top of being a part of my business that I really value. So I'm sad to say that, but I was working with a colleague this morning, and he was like giving me some suggestions on how to improve my business, and I was like, yes, I need to create more space in my life to focus on some other things right now. So I will be putting the podcast on pause. I'm hoping that it will just be 3 or 4 months, but I'm not promising anything at the moment. What I will mention as I make this announcement to put the podcast on pause, I'm going to put some things in the show notes on how to stay in touch with me if that's something that interests you. I will still be active on Instagram, and I also will still be sending out emails to my email newsletter. So I'm going to share a link to follow me on Instagram and also a link to get on my email newsletter so you can know what other offers and programs are coming up in the future as I'm working on making some important shifts in my business. So with all of that said, I decided to title the podcast What to do when it isn't working. So whatever it is, whether it's, all of the things that you're doing to grow a career or build a business or work on a relationship, here are some ideas for what to do when you aren't feeling quite as successful as you would like to feel. And this, I'm just really going to reiterate to you my framework for relationship coaching, because I think it applies to this just as well as anything else. And the very first part of what I do with a relational coaching client is, what do you want? What do you want from this relationship? If we were to work together for 6 months to a year and you would have amazing success, what would that look like? With my podcast, when I started it in February of 2020, I believe, when I started my podcast in whenever it was, 3.5, 4 years ago, I was having this idea. I had this idea that, any marketing plan should work after about 90 days. And that's probably true. This podcast, like I said, it's been amazingly rewarding for me, but it has not produced the results in the bottom line of my business the way that I would like it to. So it's become more of a passion project, more of a charity project than an actual tool that's helped me build momentum in my business. So I know what I want. I want to have a successful, sustainable business. I know that I want to help people develop true relationship skills that help them to feel closer, more connected, and more collaborative with the people that they love. And I do believe I have given my listeners a lot of that through this podcast, except for the fact that I haven't been getting the returns on the income that I need to make this business sustainable. And I fully own that. I probably haven't strategically used this podcast the way that I could. But I've just made this decision recently that I need to take a break before I go in and explore that a little bit more. And I think when I come back, I'll have a more solid plan for how to make that happen. So ask yourself, what do you want? And I think this is so important and so revolutionary or transformative, whatever word ChatGPT is spitting out when you ask it to help you write some content. I really do believe that asking yourself what you want is revolutionary, because we often don't do it. We often get an idea about something needs to happen. Maybe we have some pressure from family or friends. We're trying to keep up with the Joneses. We're trying to, just fit in with the crowd. And so we make a choice based on that. And that can happen in our marriage. We start out, we're in love. We think I really want to build a life with this person. But we don't go much further into what does that look like on a day-to-day basis. How do we handle conflict? How do we stay connected? What do we do when we disagree on something important? And how do we resolve that in a way that feels good to both of us? So asking yourself what you want is so powerful, because it gets you past that surface level, I just want to have a great life. This is what I think it looks like. It gets you down into the deeper parts of that. So what do you want from your relationship? What do you want from your career? What do you want from your business? How do you want to show up as a parent? All of those questions can help you to really figure out what to do when what you're doing isn't working. Thanks so much for listening to the Respected and Connected podcast. It means the world to me that you are here and that you care about having healthy, satisfying relationships. My husband and I were just talking the other day about the progress we've made in our marriage and how some of the things we worked through we could not have done without outside help. As a couples coach, I'm a huge advocate for getting help with your relationship anytime you're feeling stuck. And I've also always been the one encouraging a reluctant partner to come to coaching or therapy, a course, or a retreat with me. If you're interested in working with a coach or therapist and you don't know exactly how to bring it up without getting brushed off or getting into an argument about what the problem is and who is responsible for it, click the link in the show notes for my free guide on how to approach your partner about couples work. I've been there before, many times, and I'm sure you'll get some useful insights on how to approach this important conversation with confidence. So click the link in the show notes to get my free guide on how to talk to your partner about doing couples work. And the second part is what's getting in the way. And in relationships, a lot of that is we have unhealthy coping skills. We haven't really been given healthy models of relationships and what it looks like to be truly collaborative, to see each other as equals and to work together as a team. So we have kind of unhealthy strategies for staying connected in the relationship, for dealing with conflict, and they're not getting us what we want. So, identifying those and getting crystal clear on that can really help you then to go into the third step is, what do I need to be doing instead? For me with the podcast, it's been taking up time and energy from my day-to-day life that I just don't have to spend on this right now. And of course, that stems back to one of my unhealthy coping mechanisms of overfunctioning, overachieving, hustle, do everything that's expected and more, is one of the coping mechanisms I know that I have, that I have a tendency to do, and that has played out in my business as well. So just owning that without shame. We all have these things that we do that are counterproductive to getting us what we want. But it's important to figure that out. And sometimes we need the insight and perspective of another person to help us with that. But what's getting in the way? Can I take full ownership for that? And then we can start looking at what do we need to do instead? What strategies will really work? And we talk about in relational life therapy